Aloha, this is Yamanya Carey, and I'm coming to you today because I've had a lot of people reach out to me about a recent post that I made called Galactic Christmas, which is about the energies and frequencies that are happening between now and the eclipse that's happening on August 21st. And in one of the threads, I had mentioned that I personally would not be going out into the eclipse. And so I've had a lot of people ask me, well, why not? And so I really wanted to dive deep into, I have a couple things I want to go into about the solar eclipse that's coming up and some things that we should really kind of consider. So one of them is we have a really profound opportunity here to create a unified consciousness, because we have so many people that are going to be focused on one single thing. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that, but just sit with the unified field of consciousness idea as I talk to you a little bit about my personal reasons why I will not be outside during the solar eclipse. And it goes back to an experience that I had back in 2012. And we had a full solar eclipse that came across the state of California. And I was actually so excited. My whole life as a child, I've been fascinated by solar eclipses, and I really was excited to go. So I drove up into the mountains and went inside and did some personal work, and then I went out and I watched the moon go across the sun. And what happened to me was that I felt like I got energetically radiated. Like every single cell in my body felt like it had been fried. I really had a hard time driving home. I was a little bit floaty and spacey, and it took me a few days to actually kind of like bring my body back to what I would consider a normal state. And of course, I'm extremely empathic and sensitive to energies. I respond a lot to solar flares and other planetary things that happen. So I'm extremely sensitive. So one of the things is that I felt radiated. And when I tuned in and asked guidance, like, why was that? What was it that caused that? And they told me that it's kind of like when the sun goes behind the moon, everything becomes backwards. And so it's like my insides got flipped to the outside. Like we turned inside out. So the protective barriers that we have, like our skin and even part of our auric field, wasn't necessarily available. So it allowed more of whatever the frequency was that was coming through to actually penetrate deeper into my body. So I'm not really too interested in experiencing that again. And I also took it as a clue that probably it's not the best for my system to actually be outside in a solar eclipse, especially a full solar eclipse. And I'm also taking, I'm watching and witnessing in what nature does. And in a lot of the stuff that I've read about, all the birds become quiet, they fly back to their nest, the ants go back to their anthill. Everybody seems to kind of huddle back inside. And yes, of course, it's getting dark, so there's this natural rhythm that we as a society have completely fallen away from, actually moving with the cycle of the moon and the sun, going to sleep when it gets dark and waking up with the sunrise. There's so many of us that actually really don't fall into that. So the animals are really in tune with the natural rhythms and flow of nature, so they go inside during the time of the eclipse. And, in a lot of indigenous cultures, they believe sometimes that the moon is actually eating the sun, or they believe a dragon is eating the sun, and there's all these mythologies around it, and they go out and bang pans to make the moon go away and stop destroying the sun. But, those are the mythologies. But there's also the indigenous people that go inside. They shut the shades and they do inward ceremony, or they go inside to an inipi and do a sweat lodge. And so I really find that as the sun moves behind and we move into a place of darkness and we get an opportunity to reflect on our own personal shadow, that this is our time to actually pull inward and do our own personal work and do our own personal prayers and really tune into who we are during this time. So it's an opportunity to actually have a deep initiation in spiritual growth, as well as moving into the collective. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit here, is that our country, because this solar eclipse moves across the entire country, we have so many people who are excited to be witnessing this. People are driving to Oregon and Wyoming and all over the country to be able to witness the full solar eclipse. So we have a mass consciousness moving towards one unified goal, to watch the eclipse. And there really isn't a whole lot of religious connotation or anything. So that it's like there's nothing to get in the way of all of us enjoying this at the same time. And our country right now is in such a state of division and separation that my plea to you, whether or not you decide to go outside and witness it or go inward, is to set a really deep intention to create peace and to create a unified field and to create dissolve of the duality, so that we can actually bridge ourselves back into more of a cohesiveness. You know, that some people are saying that because of the way that the planets are aligned during this eclipse in the past, like in 1700, a lot of these countries were then, like within a year or two, were taken over by other establishments when there was a full eclipse that went across their country. And so I don't want that to happen. I want us to use this as an opportunity to bring ourselves together, to bring us into a place of our own personal brilliance, into our own personal spiritual evolution, and to create a unified field of intention for our country to find its way back to the beauty and the freedom and the joy that exists here now, but on an even deeper level. So that's a little bit about my 2 cents on the solar eclipse. So we can, go inward and, witness the way nature moves with the sun becoming dark and use it as a time of inner reflection. Or we can go out and use it as an opportunity to set intentions for the unified field that's being created by all the people who are witnessing it towards one specific purpose. That's where we can activate. That's where we can activate ourselves into higher levels of consciousness. And so with that, I just want to let you know that next week, between the 7th and the 19th, I'm going to be offering a daily, inspiration, information, and transmission to help people, because the frequencies are a little bit scattered and out of balance. And so I want to be able to support and assist everyone. So look out for those on my Facebook page, daily meditations and transmissions for healing. And with that, I hope you find a joyous place to be for the solstice on the 21st. Let me know what you're going to do. I'd love to see it in your threads. And wishing you a really great day. Aloha.